President Trump began this week blasting conservative Freedom Caucus members, but today he struck a different note, golfing with conservative Senator Rand Paul, who was one of the loudest critics of Trump's health care bill. You could also feel the love in Trump's tweets today as he declared Obamacare repeal is alive and well, and he's proud of the love and strength of the R party. Trump's mood may have warmed, but his operation's political payback is still alive. A top aide actively calling for a primary against Freedom Caucus member Justin Amash. Now, after this declaration of war, is this a truce? To break it all down, we have Brian Darling, a former aide to Rand Paul and a senior government studies fellow at the Heritage Foundation. You see him there behind Paul in the elevator. Also with us, David Corn, back with us, and we have former Republican representative from Florida, David Jolly. Welcome, everyone. We're going by ranking. So, Congressman Jolly, we start with you, although, as you know, not everyone ranks Congress first, but we will, right, out of respect.
Very few people do.
Explain to us what we're seeing in a back and forth, good cop, bad cop, but maybe it's like Two-Face from Batman because Trump is the good cop and the bad cop.
Sure. Well, all right, first of all, thank you for not going full law school on the last segment about Flynn and immunity. Listen, if this is love and strength, I hate to see what hate and weakness looks like from the Trump administration, right? We have a failed health care bill. We have an intelligence chairman who has lied to the speaker, lied to the media. But look, Dan Scavino, who you refer to as the top aide who recently took on Justin Amash, Scavino's an idiot. He's a complete idiot to think that you can take on the Freedom Caucus and actually pass an agenda, because here's what matters. Listen, it's opening day. We all think everything's spring and everything's great right now. Here's what's going to happen in politics in the next 60 days. We are going to face a government shutdown on April 28th, and Donald Trump will either work with Democrats or shut down the government. We're going to then face a debt limit increase, and he will either work with Democrats or he will default on the nation's debt.
Right.
You thought this week is a bad week between Trump and the House Freedom Caucus? Wait till you see the ideological divide when he works with Democrats on a omnibus and on a debt limit increase.
Well, and I'll take that right to you, Brian, because when you look at grassroots Republican politics, one of the most positive things you can note is that issues matter, right? And Justin Amash, like your old boss Rand Paul, has really made libertarian issues the bread and butter of his campaign. I'm going to put his response here, give him the benefit of response. He wrote back, Trump admin and establishment have merged into Trump establishment. Same old agenda, attack conservatives, libertarians, and independent thinkers. Walk us through what you see as important about that reference to libertarians and independent thinkers.
Yeah, I joked on Twitter this week that some squish in the Trump administration hijacked the Trump Twitter account because it didn't seem to make much political sense attacking the House Freedom Caucus. The House Freedom Caucus could prove to be Trump's biggest ally in many fights and pledging to primary a number of them. I just don't think it makes any political sense at all. I mean, Justin Amash, Thomas Massie, who's not a member of the House Freedom Caucus, but who's very conservative, Jim Jordan of Ohio. You look in the Senate, Rand Paul, who golfed with Trump today. These are all important allies in cutting taxes, getting real tax reform on so many issues that Trump wants to get done. It doesn't make any sense to do this. I understand that this administration will work with Democrats on certain issues, probably in the infrastructure bill, that they're going to need Republicans and hardcore conservatives to get a real tax reform bill across the finish line. And this health care debate's not over. There's still a chance to repeal and replace Obamacare if that bill is changed. So I just think it was not wise to attack so early the House Freedom Caucus and conservatives in general.
Right. And David, Twitter is powerful. It's part of the modern machinery of politics, but it doesn't work for everything. And I don't know if we want to get personal. I remember watching you learn Twitter, right?
Yes, you were my Twitter godfather, Ari.
We were on the Obama's plane in 2008, and David was like, I don't know about this. And I was like, try it. And then he got really good at it, has a ton more followers than most people, so mazel, David. But on the point of what Twitter's good for, I want to put up a Trump tweet that did not appear to work, March 7th. Not that one, but the one on Rand Paul. I feel pretty sure my friend Rand Paul will come along with the new and great health care program because he knows Obamacare is a disaster. Do we have that one, folks? We'll get it. Yep, there it is. That's a this is important because it's a March 7th tweet that is trying to achieve an outcome, not just an insult, but an outcome, and it didn't work, David.
Well, that was one of those brief moments when Trump was trying to think, productively about how to use Twitter and how to be constructive with it. I think at the core here is that there is no core. What does Trump really care about? Does he have any ideas about healthcare policy? I mean, you have to choose. You're going to go free market all the way and get rid of Obamacare and just let people fend for themselves in a revitalized private system, which I don't think would be a disaster. I know that's what the Freedom Caucus wants. Or are you going to come up with something else? He has no ideas. Even when tax reform, all he's been able to say is it's going to be great, it's going to be wonderful. He himself doesn't have any core principles on a lot of these issues. So when you're dealing with ideologues, and I don't mean that in a pejorative way, but the Freedom Caucus people are ideologues. Rand Paul is a libertarian ideologue. They stick often to their guns on matters of policy. And Trump really doesn't understand how to deal with that because in some ways it is so foreign to his own nature. And I don't see how on any of these other issues that the former congressman ticked off that Trump's going to be able to have a meeting of the minds with any of these more conservative Republicans when it comes to the issues and philosophies they care about.
Congressman, and then Brian.
Yeah, so look, Jeb Bush famously said you can't insult your way to the presidency. Donald Trump proved him wrong. But I don't think you can insult your way to governing.
Right.
So how does he do this, right? There is no pathway to do this. You can't actually bring together the Freedom Caucus who you just alienated on these critical votes. And so that's what we're going to see play out in the next 60 days. You thought last week was a war? Watch what happens when Ted Cruz and Rand Paul go over and meet with the House Freedom Caucus in the next 60 days and become the ideological leader of the party that the President of the United States claims the mantle for. We're going to see a division, and no governance will happen.
We're going to bring in Brian, but Congressman, I don't know what you're doing post-Congress, but you could be one of those announcers for the movie sequels where you're like, if you thought Die Hard was scary. Brian, final thought.
Listen, I've lived through this. This is history repeating itself.
Hopefully this was a learning moment for President Trump that he should not allow the House leadership to draft his legislation because it turned out to be a disaster. The Ryan Care bill was not a repeal and replace bill. It was not something that conservatives liked, and very much the president tried to force conservatives and bully them into supporting something. Well, the House Freedom Caucus and conservatives are going to be a great ally when the president pushes conservative legislation. So stop letting the leadership write the legislation for you. Do it yourself.
Right, and that's going to be relevant to so many upcoming issue fights, so it's important. Brian Darling, David Corn, and former Congressman Dave Jolly, thank you all. I appreciate it.
Good to be with you, Ari.
Up